once the government backs off or can't tax anymore or borrow anymore or interest rates go up, then they resort to the printing press. And when they do that, it's very, very deceitful and it's wrong because some people benefit and some people suffer. It just happens that if you tax through printing money and then have prices go up, it's the middle class that suffers the most. The middle class shrinks when you do that, and our middle class is shrinking. Where we at one time had the largest middle class in the history of the world, the richest middle class in the history of the world. Now the middle class is shrinking and losing their jobs and losing their prosperity. People on fixed incomes are suffering to a great deal because their incomes are fixed but prices are going up. The government tells us, no, there's no real inflation, it's only 1 or 2%. Most people know it's a lot more. If you measure inflation with the old method, it's about 9%. If you measure unemployment by the old method, it's really scary. The way they did it in the country, it's 22%. So they're trying to convince you that all this problem is behind this. Unemployment rates went up to 9, now they're 8%, and there's no inflation. One thing is they're not, this go around, not deceiving people. And I think that is the reason we're receiving so much support, because of the willingness to put it out on the table and say the problem is that government spends too much money. And we should work on this effort to reinstill into our society that prosperity, when people work and have a right to keep what they earn and they have an incentive, they ought to have a right to keep it and spend the money and not have the government spend the money. That we have to fix if we expect to get back to the basics is have a better understanding about liberty. The founders understood it. They understood that individual liberty, your right to your life, and your religious values and your personal liberties are the same as your right to spend your own money, economic liberty. But people don't generally see this as one thing. They think they're two separate things. But our rights come to us in a natural way. Our rights come to us not from our government, but our right to our life and right to our liberty comes from the Creator. Sound. But unfortunately, if you follow through the extension, this is something we have not done, is that the extension of that is you should have the right to the fruits of your labor. Now, if you carry that to a logical end, that means we shouldn't have an income tax. Amen. I think we'd be to achieve this, we have to understand the nature of liberty, but we also have to understand the role of government. So the founders understood it, and they didn't like what the king was doing. They didn't like the king taxing them to fight wars, and the king made the decisions. We have to decide, do we want the welfare state? Does the welfare state work? It doesn't work. You know, the welfare state promoted the housing programs. First, print up the money, pass out the money, pass it out to the banks and the Fannie Mae's and the Freddie Macs and the builders, and everybody's going to end up with a house. Well, the people who received that money first, in the mortgage companies and other things, they made a lot of money. Then they went to speculating in derivatives. It was gambling. And then we were told, oh, this is terrible. The bubble has burst. We have to save it, or there'll be a depression. And in a way, they were right. There would have been a depression for those people who should have gone bankrupt. They should have had the depression. The Federal Reserve, by printing more money, and the Congress spending more of your money, they went and bailed these people out. Middle class got smaller and poorer. Many people lost their jobs and they lost their houses. So the desire to help people get houses for free and have government programs and dictate how you make these laws actually backfire. It does it in education too. Because everybody should have a college education. So the government gets involved. They make it easy credit, give it to the students, and they go out, and everybody gets in college, and what do they end up with? Most likely a poor education. They end up with a huge debt. And then we mess up the economy and they can't get jobs, even if they want to go out and pay for it. So just these good intentions generally don't work. They don't work any better in medical care. Everybody wants good medical care, but the question we have to ask, can services be delivered by the marketplace, or do we want the post office delivering them to us? You know, and the government isn't capable of leading and doing this and providing a service. It doesn't mean they always fail, but overall, if you point out 10% are benefiting, 90% don't, and then it comes to an end. And this will come to an end in medical care too, because we don't have the funds there. So that's why we're at a roadblock, and we have to make a decision. We're up against the wall on this debt. In Washington, they are not willing to talk about cutting anything, and they talk, but they're not serious. The $1 trillion they're talking about, in contrast to mine in 1 year, which is a real cut, they're talking about $1 trillion over 10 years of proposed increases. So there's zero, and they don't even want to start it in 2013, and they can't even get the bills passed in the House right now to go home on vacation or Christmas break, because they can't agree, and there are no cuts. But we will have to make a decision. I think that we have a good taste of liberty and freedom and prosperity. We don't have to invent anything new. We just have to restore our confidence in how freedom works and how the marketplace works. We have to really have our confidence restored in America. We don't have to have confidence restored in social engineering and government programs, because I think the 20th century, the extreme of that was proven to be wrong. And that, of course, with the communist system, the fascist system, they totally failed. But our system, which is supposed to be a little bit more friendly, is very much the same way. It will fail, and it is failing. And in fact, under these conditions, where we have perpetual enemies to justify militarism, they have to continue to have enemies every place. So now the whole world is a stage for the war against terrorism. Any country, any place, will go get them, and we can, bomb and kill, and even assassinate American citizens. That's an established problem. That was announced last February. What about this new National Defense Authorization Act? That bill is bad. You thought the Patriot Act might have been bad? But this is much worse. This gives the authority to the military to arrest an American citizen who may be associated with a group that may have done something wrong. And they brag on the Senate floor that if they come, if you happen to be arrested because you're on the wrong website, or if you talk to the wrong people, or donate to the wrong group, and you were associated with this group, if you're picked up, the senator on the Senate floor says, don't come to us and ask us for a lawyer, you're not going to get one. This is on the Senate floor. This is very serious. So this whole idea of these perpetual wars overseas. And one thing, how could we stop these? Old-fashioned way. Don't fight a war unless it's declared by the Congress and the people and